All right. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to this very special edition of Believe in Bills. Hope everyone had a terrific holiday. And Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV, Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, and with us from the fighting city of Philadelphia, a guy I've known for a long time with NBC, John Clark, NBC television work down there. The Takeoff podcast as well. I always see it when that drops.
Yeah. Trying to stay relevant. You got to do it all. Podcast, social media, TikTok. We're all on TikTok now, right?
Yeah.
Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
No.
Last man standing.
No. Yeah. But I mean, it kind of goes to show all of us collectively. I don't know what years of experience adds up to on this program right now. I mean, we've all got some miles on our odometers. That's
right.
for sure.
Some more than others, let me tell you.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was Buffalo 97 and Syracuse 91 before that for like 5.5 years before coming to Buffalo, and been covering the Bills in some capacity during that entire time. Sal, you go back how far, Sal?
Early 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah.
Wow.
On the Bills beat. And John, I guess we got to know each other, about the year 2000, right? When you joined, at that time, WCAU, the NBC affiliate in Philly.
Yeah, we've had some good Flyers Sabres series, and then we've had some good Eagles Bills. And I tell you, going into this season, a lot of people were thinking Eagles Bills Super Bowl.
Yeah. Right. Well, we should mention this. I mean, this show on the Believe Network presented by FanDuel, and Bills are third in the Super Bowl odds as we speak, coming off a narrow win over the Cleveland Browns, 23-20. We can talk a little bit about that during the show. They're third at plus 850. Right behind them, right at plus 400, are the Philadelphia Eagles, who are kind of rounding into form. Just clinched a second straight division title, and after they dropped, 3 straight games, have won 2 in a row. Let's start off, John, by just kind of asking you ahead of this game on Sunday in Orchard Park, where are things at with this Eagles team right now?
I think they're finding themselves. And, Jalen Carter is practicing today. So for the Eagles defense to get Jalen Carter back after missing 3 games, I think that's huge, because he had a procedure on his shoulders and he's rested for the last 3.5 weeks or so. So he is your most dominating player on the Eagles defense, and he just wasn't performing the way he wanted to. And his shoulders have been hurting him all year. So to get a procedure done to help the shoulders out, you throw him on that line with Jordan Davis now, who really, I think he's a Pro Bowl snub. He is playing at a Pro Bowl level. He's come into form this year. You got the defensive front, and then you got the linebackers flying all over the place. And then you've got the Pro Bowl secondary, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. They are in the Pro Bowl in their second year. So I think this defense, it's actually number 1 in the NFL over the last 7 weeks, giving up less than 15 points a game. I think this is going to be an awesome test for the Eagles defense going into Buffalo with James Cook and Josh Allen. Because the last 2 weeks, in case you haven't heard, the Eagles feasted on the Raiders and Washington. So this is a big test for the Birds going on the road at Buffalo to see how this defense can slow down that Bills offense.
And John, you hit on a point that I've already written for my game preview. I think the middle of that defensive line with Carter coming back, Jordan Davis, that's going to be paramount to this game. And I'll tell you why. Bills' offensive line is a good offensive line. They do a great job, especially in the run game. And James Cook, for a guy his size, actually does a lot of his work between the tackles. He slithers through. They have great run game schemes, and he gets that one little crease, and he can make things happen. But this week, I don't think he's seen a team all year that has a defensive tackle duo as good as that one. So I really think that this game, I mean, as great as Josh Allen is, with his passing game weapons so terrible, this is going to come down to, can the Bills move those guys out of the way and give Cook enough room to get in that secondary?
Yeah, interesting, because I was thinking with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis being there in the middle, do the Bills try to hit it to the outside? Because I think that's where you want to run on the Eagles defense. But then again, you hit it to the outside, and then you've got Zach Bond flying all over the place. He is so good laterally and all over the field. And then you've got Nakobe Dean. Now, Nakobe Dean is iffy this week. He's not out there today practicing, so it could be Jahad Campbell. They love Nakobe Dean in the running game. So if Nakobe Dean, who's iffy, if he's not able to play, that's a big loss against a guy like James Cook.
All right. So I would say and ask you this from an Eagles defensive perspective, right? Because there is a blueprint to beat the Buffalo Bills, especially given the shortcomings in among the receivers, right? I mean, this is a flaw. And look, team management is their feet are being held to the fire, and justifiably so at this point. It's unbelievable to think that at this point in Josh Allen's career, with where they've been as a team, now 7 straight trips to the playoffs, they haven't gotten to and won a Super Bowl, obviously. And Josh Allen, speaking of miles on the odometer, getting a little bit older now at 29. The concern is, are they the national narratives? Are they wasting Josh Allen's prime years? This group of receivers, I mean, if you take James Cook away, I guess is my point, and make Allen try and beat you through the air with the limited options he has, I mean, that's been a recipe for success for opponents against Buffalo this year. And I would ask you how well equipped, and I think I kind of know the answer and fans do it as well, how well equipped is this Eagles defense to sort of implement that strategy and try and force that to happen?
Well, I tell you, I mean, I think the Eagles have the best pair of corners in the NFL in their second year, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Teams hardly throw at Quinyon Mitchell. He hasn't given up a touchdown in coverage, and Cooper DeJean hasn't given up a touchdown in coverage out of the nickel spot. And Cooper DeJean is, in my opinion, the best nickel corner in the NFL because he is the best against the run. Statistically, when they break it down, he is the best nickel corner against the run. So he gets up in there, and he is a sure tackler. So if James Cook is coming his way, Cooper DeJean is going to wrap him up. He's able to play so well, even though James Cook will get into space. And then these guys are incredible. And this is a very important thing you mentioned. If they're able to basically lock down the limited receiving threats that the Bills have, I'm looking at Josh Allen taking off a lot. If Cook is not running with the ball, I think Josh Allen's going to take off a lot. And there are some games where the Eagles have given up some yardage to the quarterbacks. But I think this is, maybe a tight end game or Cook. Cook is going to have to win it for the Bills because I just don't see Josh Allen being able to throw on that secondary.
Hey, John, I want to ask you about the Eagles' tendencies on defense, what they use in their coverage schemes most, because last week the Browns, who have a good defense, the Browns may be terrible, but they have a really good defense. They basically played man-to-man the whole game. It might have been the most usage of man-to-man defense of any team in the league this year. They told the Bills, you can't beat any of our guys anyways. We're going to play man-to-man and just, that you're going to lock them down, and you got more guys to go against, James Cook in the run game. Do the Eagles play a lot of man? And would you think, because you just mentioned that Josh Allen could be scrambling in this game, and that's going to be easier against man-to-man. But do you think the Eagles will play a lot of man-to-man and just take the receivers away and then concentrate with the rest of the guys against the run?
I don't think they're going to play a lot of man.
No?
Vic Fangio keeps the 2 safeties back, and he wants to make sure those safeties are in their positions at all times, where they're supposed to be. Don't give up the big play. And that's why he has Marcus Epps in there and Reed Blankenship, very, very steady as well. So I don't think they would play a lot of man. I think that they do have the safeties back there so that the safeties can help out with the corners. But it's an interesting discussion because if Josh Allen is in scrambling mode a lot, you don't want to be in man. So
Right.
You want to make sure that you're able to catch Josh Allen before he takes off. And he is really hard to tackle. And that's the one thing that I think helps the Eagles here because Cooper DeJean is such a good tackler. Quinyon Mitchell, he'll get in there as well. Adoree Jackson, not so much as far as tackling, but I think they've got the safeties to bring him down as well. They also have linebackers. As I said, Zach Bond, he flies all over the place. So it'll be interesting to see if they have a spy situation with Josh Allen, because I do think the corners of the Eagles are going to be able to basically wipe out the passing game. And I think it's going to be Josh Allen. I agree with you guys. I think way too much is put on Josh Allen this year. And he's able to win some games at the end. We saw the incredible comeback against the Patriots, and he's had some incredible comebacks. But it's like he's got to be Superman for this team. James Cook, arguably best running back in football this year. He leads the NFL in rushing yards right now going into this week. But I do think for the Eagles, tackling Josh Allen in the scramble drills, and when he takes off, I think that's going to be the key to the game.
All right, flip it the other way around at this point. And from the Eagles' standpoint, offensively, with the Bills' defense, look, they've been very good against the pass. Teams haven't thrown as much against Buffalo because they've been able to run the ball so effectively. I mean, the run defense has been an absolute disaster, right? Pass rush, extraordinarily limited. I mean, there's shortcomings all over this football team. And to their credit, they've been able to rally and respond and adjust and come back and do just enough key plays at key moments. But I mean, I would think, given the weapons that they have offensively, right? And with Saquon Barkley and the Bills' run defense, I mean, what's the plan of attack offensively, and how vulnerable do you feel Buffalo is to the Eagles' run game, and what does that set up for them?
Look, this is December football. I mean, I'm looking at the weather. You've got you've got possibility of what? Sleet, snow, something like that. The Eagles are going to run the football. They have, I think, maybe not necessarily found their identity like last year, because last year it was just the offensive line opening up huge holes, Saquon, home runs every game. You're not seeing as many home runs this year, but I've seen over the last month, they've changed up a little bit of their running scheme. They're trying some different things, and I think that they have found something here with Saquon. Now, as I said, these last 2 weeks, the Eagles have faced the Raiders and Washington. Saquon ran all over Washington. So did Tank Bigsby. But they're sticking with the run now. That's the key. And Saquon, I saw a different level of Saquon Barkley this past week with some angry runs. Even though he is still getting hit sometimes in the backfield, the offensive line is not opening up holes like they did last year. Saquon is lower in the pads, and Saquon's running over some guys. He had 84 yards after contact against Washington. So I think that this is playing into the Eagles' hands here. I think the Eagles are going to try to establish the run. And guys, Tank Bigsby, he's coming along. He's averaging 6.6 yards per carry. So I think they've mixed him in well. I don't think they want to run Saquon 25, 30 times a game because they want to make sure he's healthy and rested for the playoffs. So Tank Bigsby is mixed in. But this offensive line is getting healthier. We were expecting Lane Johnson to be back Sunday. That's what we were hearing, but he was not at practice today. So that'll be interesting to watch. Landon Dickerson, he's rested a day every single week. The Eagles' offensive line has been banged up this year, so they haven't been as successful running the ball or even protecting Jalen Hurts. But we've seen over the last month, Saquon Barkley's getting going here. The offensive line, a little more rested. They're getting going. So I do think they're going to establish the run. We'll see if the Bills have any shot of stopping Saquon Barkley or Tank Bigsby, because I think that's where the game will be controlled with the Eagles' offensive line. If the Eagles' offensive line is back and healthy, I think that's where the Eagles win this game, is controlling the line of scrimmage and sticking with the running game, because that's what we've seen recently.
John, let me ask you about A.J. Brown, because, man, there was a point there during the season. It was more early in the season. He just wasn't getting the ball, which to me, we see him in Buffalo, and we're like, that dude here would catch 100 passes for this team. He would be a superstar. It would be unbelievable what he could do with Josh Allen. But lately he is starting to get involved. What has changed over there? Why all of a sudden has Brown become A.J. Brown again?
Well, we've seen this in years past when A.J. has to remind the Eagles that he is one of the best receivers in the NFL and he wants to contribute. And when he sees the team losing, not having success on offense, he has spoken out. This is not the first time. And so what happens after that? A.J. Brown gets fed the football. And I think what they've done is they've changed up some of their passing schemes. And we don't see as many hitch routes. We're seeing more crossing routes. And we're seeing some more creative play calling. We're seeing some more motion. And we're seeing A.J. Brown in the slot. They're freeing him up a little bit more. And we saw A.J. Brown, he always makes that first guy miss. And we saw that against Washington this past week. So A.J. Brown over the last 5 weeks is averaging close to 100 receiving yards per game, one of the best in the NFL over the last 5 weeks. It just took a little reminder again for A.J. Brown to remind everybody. And the thing about A.J. is we're seeing Jalen play with more conviction. For a while this year, first half, we were seeing Jalen hold on to the ball a little bit, and he wasn't pulling the trigger. Well, over the last month, I would say, especially over the last 2 weeks, he is pulling the trigger and he is getting that ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I expect to see that. What's happening is they're using Jalen Hurts more under center, and they're able to set up the play action. And once Jalen Hurts starts throwing the ball down the field, he's been more accurate lately throwing the ball down the field. Look out. So I think the setup is, hey, we're going to run Saquon Barkley. We're going to mix in Tank Bigsby. We're going to set up our play action, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith will get going. One of them will get going in this game because that's what's happened. And A.J. has definitely been more of a beast over the last 5 weeks. So I would say look out to that Bills secondary.
John, let me ask you, while we're there on Hurts, do you think part of what maybe, I'm not saying he's got a Super Bowl ring and nothing really has held him back, but is inconsistency a little bit of his issue sometimes? Because I noticed, like, for instance, your third down conversions have been terrible. It's probably why you haven't scored more points, because you haven't had sustained drives. Is part of it Hurts' inconsistency in your mind, or am I off base there?
Well, look, last year, I'm telling you, like, I haven't seen a season like that in Philadelphia sports history where Saquon Barkley and the offensive line dominated like nobody's ever seen before. Could have set the all-time rushing record if they played their starters in that last week. But it's not the same this year because the offensive line isn't as healthy. They're not as good this year. So the running game hasn't been as good this year, and I really think that affects Jalen Hurts. And I think there are times when Jalen, maybe he doesn't necessarily feel the conviction to throw a receiver open and let it rip. We've seen that a little bit more over the last couple weeks. And I think Jalen is getting confident again. Jalen, I don't want to say he's up and down. I wouldn't say that, but he has gone into slumps a little bit where he doesn't want to pull the trigger, but he's coming out of that. And I think the Raiders game was a get right game for the Eagles, and it kind of showed them the confidence they can have. And I think a big part of this is Dallas Goedert again. Dallas Goedert, they're using him a lot more, especially in the red zone. I think he's got 10 touchdowns this year. Once again, we saw a great play. Jalen Hurts pulling the trigger to Dallas Goedert in the end zone against Washington. So that's another guy to watch out for. But I think Jalen is kind of finding that rhythm again where he's confident in what he's seeing from the defense, and then he's also letting it rip. That's the number one thing I think in Philly. Sometimes Jalen doesn't want to let it rip. And he's got some guys like A.J. Brown where you throw those 50-50 balls, and most of the time A.J. Brown's going to come down with it. So I think you're seeing a much more improved offense because of the running game getting going. Jalen Hurts having more confidence from that. And I think that's also the running game's opening up the passing lanes a little more. Guys are getting a little more open.
Sure.
So I think Jalen Hurts is in that zone right now. And I think Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, and don't forget about Devontae Smith, they're starting to click. And I think they like the passing concepts a lot more now.
It's all about, rounding into form at the right time of year with the postseason a couple of games away. And we've seen that repeatedly with so many teams through the years. Now's the time you really need to be hitting your stride, and you get the sense with some terrific insight, John, thank you, that's the case for the Philadelphia Eagles now as they conceptually get things, they're executing and getting healthier at the same time. With that in mind, again, second straight division title now. They locked that up with the win over the Commanders. The highest you can get is what? The 2 seed, right? So I think just before we started recording this, I saw a quote from Nick Sirianni that dropped. Wouldn't really answer to what extent, do you rest certain personnel in this game, that sort of a thing.
Vic Fangio let it out. Vic Fangio said it's full steam ahead. So Vic was like, hey, we're playing the starters.
All right. So that answers that question. So the Bills can expect a full dose of the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles 4:25 kickoff Sunday, Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. So for Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni of WGRZ-TV, Sports Talk Live, Buffalo. John Clark, NBC in Philadelphia. And tell us about the Takeoff podcast. Let's give you a chance to plug whatever you want as well. But where can people get that? And tell us about what you do and how many times it drops during the week.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I do a podcast basically once every week. We had Greg Olson on last week, who did 2 straight Eagles games for Fox. And we usually have a good analyst on. We've had Tony Dungy on. We have some Eagles players on recently. We had N'Kobe Dean on. So it's a good mix. It's just breaking down the birds and all of Philly sports. This week we have the Hall of Famer Ray Didinger on. So I appreciate it if you check out the Takeoff podcast. It's Philly centric. So they may not like that in Buffalo, but you'll get a good idea of what the Buffalo Bills are in for. And the key for me is who needs this game more. My personal opinion, I think the Bills need the game more because they're challenging for that division.
Yep.
And the Eagles, they clinched the division. Not likely that they're going to get the 2 seed because they would need the Bears to lose their final 2 and they need to win their final 2. So I expect the Buffalo Bills to need this game more. And I think that they might play that way. A lot of times in football, it's who's more desperate, who's more intense for the game, who wants it more. And I think the Bills, this is a big spot for them needing this game for the division.
And not only that, I think they need to answer some questions, about aspects of their lineup. Sal, do you have a quick thought on that before we wrap up?
I think John's absolutely right. I've already written that. The Eagles are it's like a 12% chance they can get the 2 seed. The Bills still alive for the division. I don't think that's going to happen. But the Bills would like to be the 5 seed because, first of all, you'd want to play Pittsburgh in the first round. I think we all can agree with that. And second of all, you've got a better chance of hosting the AFC Championship game if you're the 5 seed, if some crazy stuff happens. And this year in the AFC East, or in the AFC, we could see some crazy things happen, with teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens out of the way. So getting that 5 seed, I think, is really important for the Bills. And to do that, they're going to need to beat the Eagles. So, yeah, I think John's right. I think the Bills are the more desperate team this week.
All right. So as we record this, John is coming to us from the studios right there in Philadelphia, adjacent to both of the venues, I think, right? The link.
We're in the Xfinity Mobile Arena where the Sixers are playing tonight.
All right. So he's got a live hit coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Look, man, I promised you we'd be done with this by 4:00 Eastern time. I'm sending you to your live hit with 5 minutes to spare.
You're a man of your word. I love you.
All right. Thanks so very much. Hope everyone has a great new year as well. For Sal Maiorana and John Clark, I'm Adam Benigni. Thanks for being with us on Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.